Criminal Justice, Mainstream and Cross Currents, Chapter 1, Crime and the Problem of Social Control. This video is a narrated version of the PowerPoints. Crime, social control, and social justice. Let's define social control. It consists of the rules, habits, and customs a society uses to enforce conformity to its norms. Imagine how chaotic society would be if there were no rules and everyone did whatever they wanted. Socialization is a process by which individuals acquire a personal identity and learn the norms, values, and behavior and social skills appropriate to their society. Society has two broad ways of controlling crime: formal crime control and informal crime control. Formal crime control refers to the legal controls imposed by the laws and carried out by official organization. Informal crime control refers to the morals, rules, and norms, patterns of social behavior, prescribed by unofficial groups such as family, religions, and peer groups. What is crime? Any action taken by a person or a group of people that violates the rules of a society to the point that someone is harmed or the interest of that society are harmed. Criminal justice is defined as the social institution that has the mission of controlling crime by detecting, detaining, adjudicating, and punishing and/or rehabilitating people who break the law. The study of crime and the criminal justice system is not an exact science. We must use what C. Wright Mills called the sociological imagination, which is the idea that we must look beyond the obvious to evaluate how our social locations influence how we perceive society. All crime is not the same. Many offenses go undetected and their harm to society is not generally perceived. Making broad general statements about crime is difficult because so many behaviors are considered criminal offenses. Levels of government. Law enforcement, courts, and correction tasks are divided differently across the local, state, and federal branches of the government. Criminal justice responsibilities are spread unevenly across different levels of government, and an overlap exists between jurisdiction in terms of appeals and oversight functions. Levels of government continued. Local level criminal justice. Most law enforcement authority lies at the local level. The chief law enforcement official for each county is the sheriff. There are more than 3,000 sheriff departments in the United States. Incorporated cities usually have their own police departments. Levels of government continued. State level criminal justice. Law enforcement functions at the state level are usually confined to specialized missions. Most of the court actions is at the state level. Most states divide their courts into multi-county judicial circuits that rule on state of law. Levels of government continued. State-level law enforcement is usually confined to specialized missions. Patrol units are responsible for maintaining safety on the state roads and interstate highways, and also may issue driver's licenses. Most states have investigative agencies and crime labs. Levels of government continued. At the federal level, criminal justice. We have law enforcement functions include several agencies that enforce federal laws and assist state and local governments. The federal court system parallels the state system and processes offenders who break federal laws. The federal government has its own correctional system for those convicted of federal offenses. This is a chart schema of the Office of the Attorney General that goes down to the Deputy District Attorney General and then is further broken into the Department of Justice organization. This figure is available in your textbook. It is figure 1.2. The criminal justice process. Only a small percentage of offenses result in someone going to prison. Police officers, prosecutors, judges, and correction officials use discretion to decide which cases are punished further into the criminal justice system and which ones will be kicked out. Figure 1.3, available in your textbook, shows the funnel effect. The funnel effect is the pattern of how cases move through the criminal justice system. The actual number of cases vary by jurisdiction, severity, and annual occurrence. At each point along the way, cases can drop out of the system. Only a small percentage of offenders go to prison. The funnel effect at the top is the offenses. Goes down to the offenses known to the police, which goes down to the arrest, which goes down to the prosecutions, which goes down to the trials, which goes down to the sentencing, which goes down to probation, down to prison, down to parole. The criminal justice process. Why some offenses are excluded from the system. Cost, discretion, and errors. Is the criminal justice system really a system? The criminal justice system has multiple goals: deterrence, incapacitation, retribution, rehabilitation, and restoration. Is the criminal justice system really a system? Continued. The components share a goal of providing justice, but each agency may define that goal in a slightly different way. Different aspects of the system have different goals, and depending on one's relationship with the system, different concerns and values are emphasized. Figure 1.2, the multiple goals of the criminal justice system, available in your textbook, illustrates the multiple goals of the criminal justice system as deterrence, specific and general, incapacitation, usually in the form of incarceration, retribution, the need for justice, rehabilitation, still controversial, and restoration, repairing relationships. Crime as a social responsibility. The primary institution of socialization in the society is the family. Other institutions can include religion, schools, and the media. The institution of last resort. The criminal justice system has a difficult mission for several reasons, including offenders, resources, and structures. Individual versus societal responsibility for crime. Critical criminology contends that individual offender is not solely to blame for crime. Critical criminology considers racism, sexism, ageism, and wealth disparity. Critical theory, the wealth and powerful use of the criminal justice system to enhance their social position. The approach of this textbook. What we know about crime is often based on incomplete information. We tend to personalize. All crime is local. Crime statistics do not tell the whole story. We sometimes let our prejudice affect our thinking. We have limited ideas of the dangers to our health and safety. The approach of this text continued. This text has two approaches. One, to present the mainstream approach, the traditional issues and concerns of the disciplines of the criminal justice system, and two, to present a cross-current approach that fosters critical thinking. Cross-currents are the controversial problems and solutions that run throughout the mainstream of the criminal justice system. Figure 1.5, Mainstream and Cross-Currents, highlights the traditional approaches to criminal justice that can be considered to be the mainstream, while the new and controversial approaches are considered the cross-currents. Mainstream ideas listed on this chart, available in a textbook. Mainstream, antisocial behavior is unnatural, crime can be eliminated, incarceration, an eye for an eye, determinate sentencing, the old days were better, crime is a rational choice, punishment, war on drugs, war on crime, convicted offenders are always bad, and the death penalty. Cross-current ideas that are considered to be controversial. Some antisocial behavior is logical. Everyone breaks the law to some degree. Community corrections. Pay more attention to victims' needs. The incarceration rate is too high. The crime is at its lowest in decades. Crime is a social problem. Rehabilitation. War is the wrong metaphor. Decriminalization. Some offenders deserve a second chance, and life imprisonment. Questions that we can ask ourselves based on this chapter. What is social control? What are the goals of the criminal justice system? And why is the criminal justice system considered the institution of last resort? That concludes the narrated version of Chapter 1.